Hello.
Hello.
Oh, quick, Chris, or who is this?
No, this is Tom Gray from Midland Lacrosse.
Oh, okay. Just, is anyone else on here, or a lot of people?
Well, when I dialed in, they said 7 people were on.
Okay. I've got computer and phone. I'm wondering if I'm being redundant, or... Well, I'll just listen in. I don't really have anything to say.
Jamal, is that you?
Yes. Chip?
It's Mike.
Oh, who's that?
Mike Costello.
Oh, hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Not bad. I can't tell what's going on with these things. So you're doing computer, phone, or how does it work, really?
I'm doing computer on webcam. And I have...
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't have that capability, so I have the computer and the phone. So, I mean, that's the right thing to do, right? Or
I guess.
Oh, okay. That's quite the room you have behind you.
Yeah. Thank you. It's the home office.
Okay.
Hey guys, Jake DeCole on the call.
Hey Jake, it's Chris German on the call. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, Chris. Hey, sorry I had a little trouble with the phone, figuring it all out.
No worries.
I'm here though. Who's on?
Wonderful. I have seen 21 participants on the call so far. We have almost 70 people pre-registered, so I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to try to get settled and situated, figure out the software, figure out the technology. I just got in the door myself, so if you hear children in the background, they were excited to see Dad, and I gave them a stiff arm and rushed right into the den to get this going. So everyone, bear with us, because I've used this technology lots of times for my clients, but I've never used it to host a town hall where we'll be muting people and sharing screens and all that kind of good stuff. So can everyone see me, or can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yep. I see.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Hey, Chris, it's Jamal. Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Phone and computer, if I don't have the video capability, that's okay, or?
Yep, I'm dialed in on my cell phone, and I'm using computer to share my screen. Anyone that registered, when you either call in or use your screen, there will be a participant ID so we can see your name. So I can see you loud and clear. There will be a handful of people that we might not recognize. Like, I don't know who 989-832-4164 is, but that's okay. We're going to record this call. We've got a lot of people that are logged in just by phone. And yeah, there's really, we in my opinion, we can't do anything wrong here. This is the first of its kind. We want to get everyone just kind of a town hall intro, who we are, what we do, what we're trying to do some recruitment for some stuff. And yeah, I think it'll go well. The one person that we are definitely going to be waiting on to start this, our friend and President Chip Carlson, is currently in China on a business trip. It's probably about 8 o'clock where he is right now. And he's going to be on the call for the first half hour, 45 minutes, and then has to jump off to rush to his client meeting in China. So Chip has a lot of things he wants to get across, a lot of things he wants to do, but with the time difference and everything else, I think I'm going to give him a few more minutes to log in and get going. Several things that we're going to talk about tonight include current board members, current roles and things that we're doing through U.S. Lacrosse Michigan, current budget, current committees, and then really the end, we're going to wrap up with more of a recruitment and a solicitation for people that would like to get involved, get active, and help out. Yeah, so we now are up to 26 participants, but as we have over 70 registered, I'll give them a few more minutes to try to get logged in and get rolling. And here's lacrosse problem. The long stick knocked the diploma off the wall, and I'm embarrassed that it's hanging there. So there, that's fixed.
No, is this is Jake DeCole? I just got kicked off. I'm back on.
Welcome back, Jake. We are waiting on Chip Carlson to hop on. Like I just said to the constituency, Chip is on a business trip in China, and it is bright and early in the morning there. So he's trying to get through. And as soon as he's on, we'll kick this off. We'll go through the presentation and open this up at the end. Kind of fun going through the list, seeing a lot of old friends and names recognized on the list. Hall of Famer Rich Kimball's on the call. Good to see him on the call. Dwayne Hicks on the call. Mr. Ed Kema on the call. Former Detroit Mercy star Tom Seibel on the call. Jim Carl from the Coaches Association. So, Guy Belmare, the president of Mishloa. So we've got a pretty good cross-section of the community. Current coaches, current players, current entrepreneurs, current tournament directors, current board members, Hall of Famers. I'm sure that some of these numbers that I don't recognize are some of our other friends in the community. Of the 28 people on the call, I'd say 15 of you are just logged in as your 248, your 616, your 734 numbers. But at the end, when we do Q&A, there's an opportunity for me to kind of open it up. I think you'll hit one or something. There'll be directions on how you can submit questions, and would definitely like to get some feedback from you guys, some input, some questions, all that kind of stuff. The one thing that I did want to kind of get across as we're waiting for Chip to hop on, while there is an agenda and there is a format, and we are required by U.S. Lacrosse to try to have one of these once a year, I don't think we're going to solve the world's problems tonight. If you have any particular points of emphasis or discussion topics that might be bigger than this topic, we're all ears. Would love to take it offline. As U.S. Lacrosse, we are not the MHSAA. We are not, D1. We don't handle any of the fun stuff as far as recruiting or, playoffs or All-Americans or that kind of stuff. But we would like to try to, at least as far as the lacrosse community, get some more information out. I just got a text from Chip asking for the call-in number, so bear with me for 1 second so I can send this to him, and then we'll get rolling. So I apologize. I was trying to work through international communication. I hope I'm not wasting too much of your all's time. So
Lacrosse is never a waste of time.
thank you. I appreciate that. All right. All right. Chip says he's on, but we can't hear him. Chip, are you there? Chip, we're here. Are you there? He says we can't hear him. Everybody is unmuted. Again, apologize for the technical difficulties. Everybody's unmuted, so we should be able to hear everybody right now. Watch your language, please. All right, Chip's gonna hang up and call back in. All right, just trying to dial in. We know he's there. We know he's in China, but I'm going to get started. So if everyone's okay, I'm going to mute everybody, save everyone to the end, and then once Chip's in, I can turn it over to him. So first of all, I'd like to share my screen. Can everyone see the Q&A, the PowerPoint? I just put you on mute so you wouldn't be able to answer that.
Showing a big white panel, open discussion.
All right, perfect.
Got it.
All right, so this is the 2017 U.S. Lacrosse Michigan Town Hall. Thank you all for joining. My name's Chris Druin. I know I've crossed paths with most of you throughout my career as a player, a coach, or now as an official. I'm a board member for Mishloa, and I live in Clarkston, Michigan, and have been on the board since about January. We want to first of all thank all of you for what you do with lacrosse and at your levels. Looking down this list of people that are on the call, I know most of you don't just wear a hat, you wear several hats. You are coaches, you are former players, you are coaches and current players. You do development, you do officiating, you run tournaments, you own retail stores, you coach your kids. One of the great things about lacrosse in Michigan, you guys know this, we're a small community, we all pretty much know each other, and I want to just thank you for all you do for the game that's meant so much to me in my life. So on behalf of the board, would love to thank all of you for joining us and thank all of you for what you do for U.S. Lacrosse Michigan. The board is officially a chapter of U.S. Lacrosse, and we are one of, I think, 56 different chapters throughout the country. There are a few states that have multiple chapters within them. I know California is broken up into two different.
Chris, can you hear me?
Yeah, Chip, are you there?
Yeah, I've been there. I just finally figured out how to get off mute.
All right. So I'm just kind of going through the welcomes and thank yous, and I'll introduce you. So on behalf of the board, thank you. Here's the agenda. I'm going to turn it over to Chip. Chip's going to go and introduce the local board, talk about U.S. Lacrosse, talk about the role of the chapter here in Michigan, kind of review the 4 strategic objectives and expectations of the chapter, and then he's going to kind of go through his message and upcoming events. A lot of this stuff is boilerplate. A lot of this stuff is stuff that we have been provided by U.S. Lacrosse that we are copying and pasting. And if some of it seems obvious or some of it seems patronizing, I apologize, but we haven't done one of these. So I don't know if you're a Hall of Famer. I don't know if you're a first-year dad, but it's open to everybody. So we figured we'd just take a few minutes of your time and go through some of this stuff. After that, we're going to go to Jason Gratson, who is our treasurer for the board. He'll go through some of these financials from 2016, give you some year-to-date data in 2017, and then talk about what we're planning for 2018. And then my real goal with this is the strongest nonprofits have strong boards, and the strongest boards have strong committees, and they do board development from strong committee members. And that's why I really have reached out to so many of you to invite you on the call, because I think that we can start filling in. Several of you could wear multiple hats and join multiple committees, but rather than having 12 board members trying to fill all the committees, I'd rather have 100 people filling 12 committees and each wearing only one hat. So that's why I'm really kind of focused on the end of it. So that's it. And then at the end, we'll open it to discussion. So without further ado, Chip Carlson, president of U.S. Lacrosse Michigan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. I apologize for the technical difficulties. As Chris mentioned, it's about 8:30 in the morning Tokyo time, so I'm going to run through this before I've got to go to a meeting. To kind of piggyback what Chris said in terms of town halls, this is a relatively new thing across the U.S. I was just out at the Chapter Leadership Convention 2 weeks ago in Baltimore, and it's really about the first year that all the chapters are really trying to get a town hall done. It serves a couple purposes. One is it provides a method for us to kind of reevaluate our budget and make sure that we're taking into account the needs of all the different constituents across the state. And it also is meant to provide a method for you guys to sound off on what you need support on, where you think we're doing things well, and where we might need to improve. And to Chris's point, it's also our unshy way of soliciting additional support from everybody out there. We are a volunteer board. We have Luke Grimsman out of Grand Rapids, who's our secretary, and Jason Gratson, who's our treasurer. We've got Jamal Robertson for diversity and inclusion, and Christiane Malone also supports that, as well as is a liaison to the women's coaches for us. We have several open positions. We have some members at large. We've got Mike Jolly, who everybody in the world knows, and Dwayne Hicks. If I've missed anybody, I apologize, but as I'm going to try and go through this real quick, something that we went over 2 weeks ago, and something you guys may not understand, most of you do, who is Lacrosse? It was founded in 1998. It was a merger of 8 different associations across the nation, whether that be from high school to coaches to officiating, lacrosse foundations across the nation, uniting into one to become the national governing body of men's and women's lacrosse. It's a very large organization. Our membership base now is up in the hundreds of thousands, close to it's over 500,000. And our mission is really, as the sports national governing body, we want to provide national leadership and structure and the resources to fuel the sports growth, and really leverage all of our what we would call lacrosse constituents out there, all the leagues, all the officiating associations, coaches associations, and help provide support to that to really enrich the experience of the participants, which ultimately are the youth. As Chris mentioned, we focus on 14U and below. We do not really do much at the high school level. We maintain a good relationship with Tom and Kathy over at MHSAA, but they definitely run the show for high school, and we try and drive the growth at the youth level and watch those kids move on to the MHSAA level. What are the chapters? The chapters are volunteers across the entire U.S. There's 67 chapters. We've all come together because we all love lacrosse, just like you guys all joined onto the call because you love lacrosse. I don't know how many thousands of years of experience we have on this phone call, but I know it's definitely in the thousands. And the chapters serve as an extension of the national office, and our purpose is really to march with the mission and the guidelines and serve the memberships locally, which in our case would be the state of Michigan, and provide any support that community needs. So, we, as a board, we've got member values. We're expected to uphold and foster the USL chapter values as outlined. In a nutshell, we're here to serve all the youth players and the organizations that support youth play across our state. We've got kind of 4 areas that we focus on: education and training, supporting local lacrosse organizations, continuing to help grow the sport through soft stick, learn to play activities, and drive visibility of the national body through our local chapter. So as we look at kind of the 4 pillars, we have some mandatory requirements that we have to do every year, which is host coaches education clinics, as well as communicate official training dates and help aid and support the officials training in any way possible. We usually do that through some grant allocation, some money. Some electives that we choose to participate in, learn to play clinics, again, work with new officials, providing scholarships, help financially support the Laredo lead officials clinics. Those are all things that we've done in the past and we'll continue to try and budget for. Under kind of fuel the growth of the sport, that's really giving out grants to the local organizations, as well as really promoting the diversity and inclusion and promoting, providing a method for kids across our state that might not necessarily be in an area that is exposed to lacrosse, but give them that opportunity of exposure and provide them that opportunity to taste it, test it, and love it like the rest of us. We work hand in hand with community programs. Again, I mentioned we do many different grant programs, whether that's soft stick. We do 6 college scholarships a year at $1,000 a piece for kids going off on their freshman year. This is really the next issue is support local lacrosse organizations. I think that really addresses the group that's out there on this phone call. We want to understand what your needs are and how we can support you. And we can't just write super huge checks, but we can parcel out money as best possible. We want to work hand in hand with all of you. We've done quite well. The Men's Coaches Association has been a tremendous support to USL Michigan. We partner up with the bus every year. It's a great activity, and they've been quite supportive of USL, and we want to make sure that we support them in any way, shape, or form. And it's not just them. We want to reach out to all the officials organizations and women's coaches, anybody and everybody that wants to grow the sport. We want to walk hand in hand with, and really kind of drive home the core principles of USL with, good sportsmanship, following the rules, instilling the best practices out there for the different organizations. So then how do we drive chapter brand visibility? As most of you know, we run our spring tournament, the Michigan Youth Lacrosse Championship in May. That's a growing event, and this coming year, it's not only a USL sanctioned event, but it's also a national qualifier event. So that should continue to help us get our name out there. We have our Hall of Fame banquet, and many of you on the phone right now are members of our Hall of Fame, and we treasure each and every one of you for everything you've given to the sport. And we try and support local activities. We're partnering up now with the West Side for the West Side Convention in December. We're co-running a tournament, a 7v7 on the 4th and 5th of November out in Grand Rapids. And obviously we work with several organizations to set up clinics and training throughout the year. In the past, we've done stuff like all-star games with working with the Coaches Association, but that's kind of fizzled over the years. So our next big event this year will be the 7v7 in Grand Rapids on the 4th and 5th. We are still looking to see if we could run one in conjunction at the same time, same weekend, but on the east side. But we need some people to help us manage that. So if anybody wants to throw something together quick and maybe potentially share in the profits of that, obviously our profits help fund all the grants and everything, but we understand if somebody's going to help us out, they might need to fund their time. And then in the Michigan Lacrosse Expo in December, the 2nd and the 3rd, we're going to be running level 1 and level 2 coaches clinics for both men and women's game. And we're co-sponsoring the bus out to the national convention in January with the Men's Coaches Association. And we consider that to be probably our number 2 town hall, since we have such a captive audience for 8-9 hours. One of our newest initiatives is the lacrosse athlete development model. I would encourage anybody and everybody to go out to the national website and read up on that. It's basically taking a page out of the USA Hockey training manual with small field play and really age-based and mental and physiological development-based training for kids so that we don't burn them out at a younger age. We continue with the coaches education program. Obviously, USL is behind the youth lacrosse rules and the age brackets, and we continue to work on funding grants and providing scholarships, and whether it be a first stick grant, whether it be an official needing to go to training, you name it, we pretty much run the gamut. Guys, I apologize that I have to bail off so quick. I want to thank everybody that's been on, and I'm going to hand this over to Jason, our treasurer, and let Chris take the meeting over. But again, thank you so much for signing on. Please let us know how we can help. Jason?
Yep.
Thanks.
Can you hear me?
First, this is Chris. Just want to say thanks to Chip. And at the end of this, we're going to give this presentation on our website. If you want a copy of this PowerPoint, we'll have it on there as a PDF. Chip and I's contact information will be available at the end as well. I'd recommend, if you do need to get hold of Chip, wait till he's back in country. But definitely wanted to thank him for jumping on from overseas. And then without further ado, I wanted to turn over to Jason to talk about the 2017 year-to-date as well as proposed 2018 budget. Jason, floor is all yours.
All right, Chris, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, perfect. All right, so thanks everyone for joining. Honestly, I'm surprised we got as many people as we did. It's great to see so many people who care about lacrosse in the state. I'm not going to bore you by going through all of the numbers, but I really just wanted to give you some high-level input on kind of where we get our funds and then what we do with it, and really hoping that this community can help us perhaps come up with some good uses for those funds in the future. Really, we get our funds from two places right now. One, the biggest being from national. We get about $10,000–$12,000 per year. It's part of people's annual dues. We get a portion of that due to those who live in the state of Michigan. The other thing is we run tournaments in the past. The 7-on-7 that we've done in the fall has been a moneymaker for us. Last year, we ended up having to cancel, and so we actually didn't make money. So we're trying to get it back this year. We're doing it in Grand Rapids. For the time being, we've put in our budget a small profit. Hopefully that can kind of return to where it's been in the past. The other piece here is, the spring tournament, the Mila tournament, really has started to take off. And last year, we really subsidized those teams to get them out there. I think the entry fee was only $55 for a tournament for the whole team, which is obviously, much less than you'd pay anywhere else. So the hope is that as we kind of normalize that, those two tournaments can help provide us some income. In terms of our expenses, we have expenses for those tournaments, and some expenses to run a website, buy insurance for our board, those types of things. But really what we're looking to do is use our income for the year to give back to the community. Chip mentioned the bus trip, so we fund half of that with the Coaches Association. So that's a little over $3,000 that we pay towards that. We also do grants. We have in our budget maybe $10,000 or so set aside for grants, and we get a significant amount less than that every year. It's not for lack of budget. It's just we're having trouble, I think, advertising it and getting people to request some funds. We have scholarships that we give out. I want to say for the last 5-6 years or so, we've given out $6,000 per year, 6 individual scholarships of $1,000 each to any graduating senior going to college in the state of Michigan. And that's another thing where we've had some trouble actually getting word out. We've gone through the Coaches Associations, through our web pages, but hadn't gotten too many applications. We made a bit more of a focused effort last year. We actually paid for some Facebook ads, and that seemed to have helped. But through this community, if you've got kids looking for scholarship money, if you've got new programs, diversity and inclusion, inner city programs, if you've got some officials that you'd like to help train, or some new coaches you'd like to help train. We've got funds set aside for that, and we're certainly not getting enough requests for those funds as much as we'd like. So I think I'll pause there. If there's any questions or thoughts, if you have ideas of ways that we could help the community and help spend our funds or give out some grants, we're certainly all ears.
All right, I was gonna just go ahead real quick, unmute everybody. If anyone has any questions on the budget, do they want to chime in now? Jason can answer it directly. Going once, going twice. All right, I guess what I will do then is I'll move on to my portion of it.
20 seconds.
Many of you guys know me in the Southeast Michigan area. And many of you on this call received a phone call from me today that, or yesterday or sometime in the past 10 days, where I said, I've been on the board since January. One of the things that I think we're really lacking is our committees. And I think that by lacking in our committees, we might not be doing the best board development. And I think too many of our board members are probably overworked and trying to wear too many hats. And I think that this is a great opportunity for me to reach out to my friends in the community to see who else we can lean on to get involved. I got involved in officiating when my wife and I started our family, and Brian Effinger heard at a tournament that I was going to stop coaching, came up, put his arm around me and said, "Ever think about officiating?" And next thing you know, I was officiating. Next thing you know, I'm on the board. Next thing you know, I'm on the U.S. Lacrosse board, and I can't say no to any of you people. But I guess what I'm asking is, it's time for us as a community to go out and start putting our arm around people and asking them to give back and asking them to get involved. I am very strong in my networking here in Southeast Michigan, but I'm not as strong on the west side. I'm not as strong in mid-Michigan. So a quick call to Mike Van Antwerp on the call, and I see that he got Rich Kimball and a handful of other guys from the capital city in the area. I reached out to Tommy Seibel, and I see he got several guys from West Michigan on the call. We can't just have our committees be the same 12 people. And I'm not asking anybody to step up right now and agree to join a board or join a committee, but these committees on the screen, and I'll read them off for those of you that are not in there, these are the suggested committee chairs through our board. And I'm sure several of us could wear several different hats and join several different committees, and I'm not asking anyone to join 5 committees, but what I am asking is for, if this could be kind of the kickoff of a brainstorm. The final slide we have on here is contact information for Chip and I, and then our email account, which is just board@michiganlacrosse.org. I want us to start going up and having people on the back and saying, hey, I'd like to invite you to come out and sit in on a committee meeting and see if you'd like to get involved. Right now, we have coaches education, officials and umpires, events, diversity, communications and website, sportsmanship, youth leagues, middle and high school, chapter teams, the Hall of Fame, chapter grants, fundraising, marketing and membership, and then IRS/legal counsel. Several of you know some of the Hall of Famers that have been on the board that have officially stepped down, including Clark Bell and Bob Stevenson. Clark and Bob wore a lot of these hats. Bob was our resident attorney on staff. We're looking for somebody to step up and kind of lead that legal counsel part. We're not concerned about lawsuits. We're not concerned about a lot, but it would just be nice to have. There are several of you, like I said, that could wear many of these hats, whether you're a D3 coach in mid-Michigan, you're a D1 coach. Hi, Chris Cole, and I see you're on the call here in Detroit. Or you could potentially lead some youth programs out on the west side, and looking at you, Chris Gervat. We have a lot of you that are interested in giving back, that are interested in getting involved, and this is the official invitation to say, we want you, we need you. And we're hoping that by strengthening each one of these committees with a strong committee chair and doing some recruitment to fill 3 to 5, maybe as many as 10 members per committee, we can then start really driving the cream of the crop of these committees and the people that have the time and the interest and the talent to start filling in some of the board seats and really making this better communication geographically between East Side, West Side, Central. Hopefully Tony Quinn can lead the charge up in Northern Michigan. But then not only within that, youth to high school to college to men's to women's, officials to coaches to administrators to entrepreneurs to events and everything else. Again, several of you wear several hats and could join any of these committees or all of these committees. And I'm not asking at this moment for you to step up, but I definitely would like to just put that out there as we're interested, and this is kind of our official opportunity, our official kickoff to say we're recruiting. I'm seeing some questions in the chat. One from Ed Kima, what's a chapter team? This bullet point was from 2009, I believe. And the documentation said that if we were going to have chapter teams to submit for the state of Michigan to national festivals, that the board should have a participation or a leadership role in that. Jason answered in the chat, we've sent teams from the state to regional national tournaments. At this point, I don't think we have that. And a lot of you know me. I'm always good for sitting on a bar stool talking about how we're going to save the world and how we're going to save lacrosse and what's great and what we can do better. I've heard rumblings for years about we should put together a Michigan team to send out to Vail. We should put together a youth team to send out to festivals. If that's something that you're interested in, board@michiganlacrosse.org is the email for the board. I would love for somebody on this call to step up and say, I'm interested in sponsoring, I'm interested in organizing, I'm interested in doing that. I'm all ears, Chip's all ears. I don't really have a specific ask or call to action for this. But I've said it 5 times on this call now. The strongest nonprofits that get the most done have a strong board, and the strongest boards are when they're developed out of committees, and we have strong committees. So I'm looking for people on this call to start recruiting with me or to volunteer to look into a committee. And without further ado, I was going to unmute everyone. And if anyone had any questions or comments, can we try to not all talk over each other at once, but everyone is unmuted. If anyone wants to chime in, we'd love to hear some feedback. Anyone?
Yeah, Chris, this is Chris Gervac. Can you hear me?
Hey, Chris, I can hear you.
Hey, guys. Those that don't know me, I was actually roped into the lacrosse game back in Michigan by Dwayne Hicks from Michigan State about 10 years ago. And then from there, I went on to true lacrosse, and I've stopped that since my wife hates lacrosse now, and now I'm in the financial world. So I'm trying to give back now after doing the club game. And what I'm noticing the biggest issues in West Michigan is that everyone's trying to reinvent the wheel every year, and no one is working congruently together. So I think U.S. Lacrosse presence would be huge because these youth boards that really don't have the knowledge or experience are actually working against each other and not with each other. So I think that if I can get involved in some others, like along with Luke Grimsman, as he has been doing, can really step up and help individual youth boards, I think that would be massive in the Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Lakeshore area. And I think that's what really need to head is the player development as well as the coaching development. We're all trying to get these guys certified. At the same time as, they get certified over one weekend, what can we do on a, bi-yearly basis, once every 3-4 months to get these coaches more dialed in to give these kids the best experience possible. So that's where I feel like I can contribute, help out, and it's just really making everyone on the West Side have the same ideals, and I think that's what's missing. Everyone is kind of working against each other. If everyone has the same exact strategy, the kids will get better, the coaches will get better, and we develop the kids at a lot faster pace.
Thanks, Chris. I had tasked Chris on a referral from, I don't remember who it was or what tournament it was. I was officiating at one of Kaminskas or Kima's tournaments over the last 12 months, and there was a West Michigan team there of youth, and I asked them who would be a good person, and they got a couple of names and ended up getting Chris's name. So I know he's very interested in working with the board on youth programs, youth leagues, youth development. Absolutely. Definitely would love to have you step up and get involved. Anyone on the call anything that we haven't covered, anything you were hoping we would cover, anyone that just wants to say your name and be recognized, everyone is unmuted. Chime in and feel free.
Hey, Chris, this is Tom Gray from Midland Lacrosse. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Tom. How are you?
Great. So I've been coaching U10 for about the last 10 or 11 years. Last year, my team had to play in 4 different formats, 10 on 10, 8 versus 8, 7 versus 7, and 6 versus 6. With the new rules going into effect for 2018, my question is, can the board influence the people putting on tournaments to follow the 7 versus 7 or 6 versus 6 rules? And in addition to that, for example, if I went to early bird tournament, they're charging roughly $500 per team. If we go down to the 6 versus 6, I'm going to take 2 teams there. It costs us $1,000, which is ridiculous because they're playing on half field with 1 ref. How can we influence tournaments to be reasonably priced for the U10 and U8 groups?
That's a really sticky question, and I'm not going to try to be a politician and answer a question you didn't ask. What I can tell you is this, is that we as U.S. Lacrosse Michigan have partnered with a handful of tournaments and tournament directors in the state for officially sanctioned U.S. lacrosse tournaments. And those tournaments, all members of each team that are playing have to be members of U.S. Lacrosse. They have to abide by the U.S. Lacrosse rules. They have to abide by having each of the officials be members of U.S. Lacrosse. There's a certain punch list that they must adhere to have our logo on their tournament. That being said, we also have dozens upon dozens of entrepreneurs nationwide. Some of them are local. Some of them are from out of the area that call them carpetbaggers, call them whatever, that just see a spot of fields that are trying to make a buck on. We can't control them. If they're an entrepreneur and they're going to get their own insurance and put out their own tournament and put out invitations, you as a consumer can decide what you want to play in and what is best for your dollar and what is best for your program. We can definitely, choose what we're going to promote or choose the partners we're going to have that are going to select U.S. Lacrosse officially sanctioned tournaments. But at the end of the day, a lot of those tournaments, they're not sanctioned by U.S. Lacrosse. We're not endorsing them. We're not promoting them. They're entrepreneurs that have fields, and each official, and I'm an official, I'm on the U.S. Lacrosse, the Micheloa board. Each official is an independent contractor for the assigner that will get games from them. So I really wish I had a better answer for you for what we could do, but it's not something that we control, and it's not something that we have the authority over. Now, that being said, we do have an event committee on here. We do have a fundraising committee on here. If maybe we want to look at doing more U.S. Lacrosse tournaments as fundraisers, or working with the vendors that we're partnered with for the official USL tournaments to do more events. Maybe we could do more with the market that way. And there's several other people on the call that have run tournaments. There are several other people that run indoor, outdoor, holiday, spring, fall, summer, all of the above. A lot of these guys are friends. A lot of these guys have not only their own tournaments, but their own teams, and send their teams to their other competitors, friendly competition, in some cases, tournaments. I don't have an answer for that yet, but I'm hoping that by expanding this conversation, this call, and recruiting, we might be able to get some of those same people in the same room and come up with some solutions for this. Did I talk around that enough?
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
No, but I'd like to set the record straight on something that person just said. Is first of all, the fee for 6v6 or 7v7 was lower than the fee for the 10v10. If you're talking about the early bird tournament, number one.
Real quick.
Number two, as an event coordinator, we only want to do what the teams want. So we get mixed signals from different groups. If every 10U is playing in their regular season, on a 6v6, 7v7 basis according to the new US lacrosse guideline. We're happy to do that because that tells us that's what the customer wants. Where we get confused is when you have some teams that are like, oh no, it's 10v10, and others that are like, no, it's 6v6 or 7v7. You know, we need, you know, if all the teams did the same thing, it'd be easy for us to pick one.
That was Ed Keeman speaking, by the way, the owner of All American Lacrosse. Kerry Baum runs the Early Bird and is a U.S. lacrosse partner on some of our tournaments, or some of his tournaments, I should say. Thank you, Ed.
Hey, Chris, let me.
Hey, Chris, can you hear me?
Something?
Hold on, I got two people talking. One was Dwayne Hicks. Dwayne, can I give you the floor first?
Okay. Just really quickly, and this goes to everybody, and this goes to this particular question. I believe we started Mila, which is something that Mark Rainey has taken over. And I think one of his missions was to get every youth team and every youth organization involved. So there is a consistency there. But I think even Mark is finding that some people want to do one thing and other people want to do others. And he has been out there, I think, pretty much for the last 2 years trying to get everybody on board. And he is obviously following the U.S. lacrosse rules. Not so much for tournaments, but for the season. And I think if everyone can get on board with Mark, then I think we'd have a consistency to go from this point forward. But I know he's working, but he can't be in touch with everybody. So Mark's over here on the east side, but I don't know how he's doing as far as the west side, Midland, up north. Mark's pretty much championing the Mila flag. So tournament-wise, I'm right on board with Chris in that we can't control what tournaments do, and you know it's really up to the customer. But as far as the season goes, lacrosse season goes, if we, I think as a whole, could get everybody onto the Mila bandwagon, I think we'd all be much better as a whole, because everybody would be following the same rules, same 7-on-7, 6-on-7, same field size, same everything. But right now you've got a lot of different youth organizations playing different field sizes. So it's just something to consider and something that I know we look at all the time. So that's it. So Mark Rainey is running that. And if anybody has any questions, please contact them.
Yep, and I was actually the other one to jump in there, Dwayne.
Oh, hey, Mark.
And yeah, hi guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I think everybody's kind of looking at the same solution there. You know, from the tournaments, they'll do what people do, and from the seasonal aspect, you know, everybody wants to be on the same page. You know, nobody likes going to, you know, traveling an hour to play a game, and then, you know, we get there with a team for 10v10. They're saying, oh, we're playing short-sided, or, you know, our U13 is playing your, you know, 8th grade team. You know, all those different scenarios that everybody's seen, you know, for the past number of years. You know, so one thing that U.S. Lacrosse, or I should say Mila, has really been trying to do the past few years, getting teams organized into leagues and getting those leagues organized playing the same way. So, you know, first just being able to find other teams as the, you know, lacrosse in the state grows and more teams pop up, being able to connect with the other teams in your surrounding community, and then just making sure that those teams play the same way. You know, going back to Chris's point, you know, you have teams on the west side that play differently than teams on the east side, and teams up in Lansing that play different than, you know, either or. And, you know, that it makes for tough lacrosse games, and it can be a tough experience for people. so everybody kind of recognizes that, you know, by just standardizing things, we're going to be in much better shape. And thankfully, the past year here, coming out with these even year team divisions, so 10U, 12U, instead of the U13s and U15s that didn't exactly line up with grade. Now the teams that are organized by grade pretty much, you know, do still organize by the even year grade base that US Lacrosse just put out, or even year age base, sorry. So now that we've got the age under control, it did almost simultaneously come out with the athlete development model, you know, which does change the number of players on the field and the field size a little bit more. So definitely a learning curve within that, and just getting everybody to kind of be aware of what is expected at each level, and getting these different leagues, you know, whether you're 5 miles away or, you know, 200 miles away, playing the same way. Because once we do that, a lot of these other issues, whether it's, you know, teams not aligning or what tournaments are doing or this and that, those all get resolved pretty quick. So that is, as Dwayne mentioned, the main thing we've been looking to do. I'm actually based in Ann Arbor, but most of my network is down in Southeast Michigan. So trying to find people on the west side, trying to find people on the girls' side of the game that are interested in helping, that are interested in connecting these groups, has really been our mission. So definitely looking for more help in that.
Anyone else on Mila? Anyone else on Youth Lacrosse? Any other open topics anyone would like to address?
Hey, Chris, this is Mike Van Antwerp. Can you hear me?
Mike Van Antwerp, how are you, buddy?
Hey, good, man. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah. You know, I would just want to echo that sentiment of, you know, coaching youth. It seems to be different everywhere. And I have noticed since we've started, you know, transitioning to the even years now for kids, has made, I think, a nicer difference. It was hard this summer with some teams where different tournaments were different ages, but I think tournaments seem to be transitioning to those even years, and I think we'll see over the next couple of years some balance and kind of continuity that comes out of that. So I think that's a good thing, as long as we're, you know, as US Lacrosse is supporting that, obviously, with their, you know, age groups. So hopefully that starts to even some things out and make things more consistent for what people are seeing.
Just to follow up on that, US Lacrosse has made this real push to get the ages and the rules and the field size and numbers out. But the information from US Lacrosse National, it doesn't always get there quickest or with enough time for us to really get the information out. I don't know how many of you know one of the officials, Josh Pate. He's on the board for Mishloa. He's also a youth coach for his son's team up here in Clarkston. You know, he's a youth coach, he's a youth official, and he's our official youth rules interpreter. And I don't think he got the rules until February, March, and the season's kicking off. So it's now that we've had a year with these, maybe what I can do is work with the officials associations and the umpires to educate their officials on what the official standards are. Again, they're independent contractors. If they show up to a field and the coaches say, we're doing 10 on 10, well, I'm not really sure how much authority they have to put their foot down and say, no, you're not. But at least with our ability to do some marketing communications with USL members and getting the, you know, youth league committee a little stronger, now we definitely know we have Chris Gervais on the west side. We've got Mark on the east side. You know, Mike, if you can help find somebody in mid-Michigan to help us out. Maybe it is just that meeting of the minds and a divide and conquer, so that an email from National, an email from the Officials Association, an email from the local coaches association leaders, we really hammer the point home. And again, this isn't us as US Lacrosse Michigan saying, we know what's best, we're going to tell you what to do with your leagues. But we need to support the local organizations with what US Lacrosse National is trying to, you know, really set as a standard, not just in Michigan, but nationwide with their lacrosse development program. I think, again, if we can get stronger communication through the committees, we'll be a lot better off.
Hey,
Yeah,
Chris.
I think that Mark put it well. I think that U.S. lacrosse going to the even year age classifications was a huge leap to get both teams and event organizers on board for a common platform. And the thing that's going to help is that teams in Illinois and Indiana and Ohio, where event organizers draw customers from, are starting to jump on board as well. I think if we can get now the format, whether that's a 4v4 at the youngest levels or a 6v6 and then on up to 10v10, I think if we can get the teams unified on the format of play, I'm sure that I think I'm safe in speaking for the other event organizers that we know locally, so much the out-of-state guys, that everybody would be down for having common age classification formats for their events. Make it easier. It would make it easier on everyone.
That'd be great.
Sure. Chris, this is Chris Gravatt again. Now, one issue we're having along with just the U format is A and B and tournament teams. So you're having these programs have multiple teams per age groups practicing once, twice a week and then playing 4 to 5 games. So what I'm seeing is a lack of coaching at the B level, and the A's are doing well. The B's are having horrible experience. They're dropping off there. So love the new U format, but the issue we're seeing in Grand Rapids, I met with all the Forest Hill schools, East Grand Rapids, Rockford. They're playing so many games they don't practice. So if we could come up with some sort of format where it limited the amount of games, maximize practice more, in some sort of formula to have some weekend tournaments, I think is a huge thing for development. What we had on Long Island when I grew up, I think this was after Dwayne's time, was we had an A and a B team together, and you split up the quarters. So A played first, third, and fifth quarter, and B played second and fourth. So you're maximizing your coaches, you're minimizing games played, you're saving money for the local teams, and that. So maybe there's a tournament team on top of that. I just see a big need for the push to maximize touches, maximize practice, what U.S. Lacrosse is talking about over and over again. And I'm not seeing that, and people are fighting that. These people I met with on Sunday night were fighting the small ball in third and fourth grade. Our kids are too advanced for that. I was like, your kids are not too advanced for that. They just have not been coached the right way of how to do this. And his mom's like, well, I don't like it. I'm like, that's great. You don't like it because you don't understand what it's supposed to do. She's like, we didn't have goalies when we played. I'm like, well, that's a big problem if you don't have goalies. So just kind of the stubbornness, ignorance around it. If we can teach that to a higher level, explain the importance of those touches and maybe combine those teams somehow to maximize coaches. We all know that we're really low on coaches in Michigan. We're low on skilled, not even lacrosse coaches, just good humans that are good coaches to young men and women. So if we can maximize that, and the format's been going on in Long Island for all sports for 25, 30 years, I'm not sure if that's a solution, but it's something to talk about.
Those are great points. Thank you.
Hey, Chris,
one more thing. I don't
know if you can hear me or not.
I'm sorry, who is this?
Rich Kimball.
Hey, Rick.
You know, it's interesting kind of to sit back and listen to this and see how interconnected everything is. You know, when you talk about youth teams and tournaments, you talk about there aren't enough good coaches at the youth level. You know, I fight every year now that I'm back in coaching to find a 7th and 8th grade coach, to find an assistant JV coach. And, you know, in a teaching of skills of the ones that you get sometimes just aren't where they need to be. And coaching education is got to be a big part of it. You know, and I think you're exactly on the right path tonight of trying to find people in each area that can come together and try and work all these things out in terms of age group classifications, formats, who's coaching these kids, what do they know, what are they teaching them. You know, I was fortunate enough last year to get Sean Grady to come in as a favor for me at the last minute and coach my 7th and 8th grade team. They had a great experience, but now I don't have anybody. And so, and I'm trying, but now it's going back for me to try and find some former players that are maybe going to Michigan State that are in the Lansing area that can come over and coach, but yet they weren't great players themselves and their skills weren't great. But now it's trying to spend time, I think, in coaching education. And, you know, it's frustrating in one sense because we want the game to grow, but I'm not sure that the base at the bottom in terms of players and coaches is good enough. And all these areas you've got listed on that recruitment slide you have up there are just so important. And so many of them meshing together that I think this is a great start tonight to try and figure out how to attack some of these things and get them going.
Yeah. You know, I'm a broken record. Strong committees, large committees, or multiple members per committee, stronger board, more people wearing less hats. Youth league can complement coaching education. Coaching education definitely be complemented by the events coordinator who would schedule bringing in people from maybe the region or from Baltimore to do coaches education programs, you know, that kind of stuff. Sorry, my daughters are peeking in the room trying to see what Dad's up to. You know, this is where, like I said, we could all wear multiple hats, but if we could find people and volunteer them. This call, I think, is great because we've got Mid-Michigan, we've got East, we've got West. I did get a text from, where is he? I don't know if Tony Quinn's on the call, but I know Tim Murray's on the call. I know, you know, those guys know people in those markets. They know, you know, Chris Cohen's on the call, Jake DeCola's on the call. They've got the former players that played D1, that played D3, that played high-level club that we might be able to start recruiting at these 7th and 8th grade levels, at these youth levels, that maybe even would be interested in going on and getting certified as a trainer so that we don't have to rely on Baltimore. If we can get some people certified, like myself and Brian Effinger, a couple of guys, we are officially certified U.S. Lacrosse officials trainers. We can go out and educate the members. You know, maybe this gets back to the recruitment part where if we are struggling to find candidates for coaching education, can we lean on the D1, D3 high-level club coaches to get us some guys? And maybe that goes into marketing and membership as well. And while I'm patting myself in the back because I've got such a diverse group of people that I've invited, that little girl that just ran in here, Harper, I'm her coach now. And I don't know anything about the women's game, and there's very few people I know it's a part of the women's game. We need to also start reaching across the aisle per se to the women's game and start recruiting for them as well. And so I guess that's my challenge to all of you on this call is if you can look at this, come up with a couple of names. And if you just email me a name, address, or name, email, and phone number, I've got no problem calling that person up and saying, Rich Kimball volunteered you, and he thinks you'd be a great addition to a committee called Hall of Fame, Chapter Chief, whatever it is. Yep. And are you interested? I'm in sales, and I'm not shy, and I'm pretty blunt, so I've got no problem picking up the phone and calling people. It's how most of you got on this call. So, yeah, we need your suggestions. We need your input. We need you to volunteer. We need you to volunteer your friends. And the good thing is with this list here of 3, 6, 9, 12, 14, this isn't set in stone. Bylaws are made to be amended. And if we want to create different committees or sunset some of these because we don't need them, we can do that. You guys are the pulse of the community. You guys are the leaders of the community. And this is your opportunity as U.S. Lacrosse members and as leaders to shape the future of the game in Michigan, shape the future of the committees, and shape the future of the board. So we're all ears. We need you, and we're hoping that you guys can volunteer your friends, throw them under the bus, whatever you want to say. We're definitely interested.
All right, this is Rich again. I feel guilty. I'd like to be on the coaching education committee.
You're hired. You're a Hall of Famer. Can we put you on the Hall of Fame committee too? Because Clark's still on.
Sure.
Okay.
How's that?
Anyone else? Mike Costello, you're kind of quiet. You
I am.
Fly on the wall. Any feedback?
I'm just listening and making some notes. I know we talked earlier a couple days ago about. I guess I'm just adding to a potential event, but a few years back there was a Michigan convention that happened out at Concordia. And I thought that was really beneficial because it got everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people from both sides. You talked about going across the aisle and doing some things for the women's game, but that convention had some men's coaches, some women's coaches, youth in high school, and it was really good. It was a fun event, and you got to meet some different people that you might not normally meet. So I don't know if that's something that would be something to look into to try and put together. I know it might be a large task, but I think it would be beneficial to the chapter, the coaches, and everybody.
I will definitely put that in the committee notes for the events committee once they are formed.
Okay.
I know that Chip had mentioned that December 2nd and 3rd, there is the West Side Lacrosse Summit, something or other.
I just saw that chat. Is that the women as well, or
Luke, can you chime in on that?
Yes.
Luke, are you on mute?
Yeah, I just got myself off. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I can hear you, Luke.
Yeah, so this is going to be our second year. This is that convention mentality. We try and invite coaches. We try and invite officials, players, anyone we can get. And we had about 25 presenters last year on various topics in coaching, officiating, program administration. We had vendors. We had demo fields. Coach Corrigan from Notre Dame was our keynote speaker. This year we have Gordon Corsetti, who's in charge of the officials training in Baltimore. He's going to be coming out and doing our keynote. So it's a great event. We have level 1 on Saturday for boys and girls coaches. We have Gordon talking to boys officials. I think we'll have someone local for girls officials. On Sunday, we have the expo. We're adding a 3x3 tournament for anyone who wants to get involved in playing a little bit. Going to be cold outside, but there'll be short games and it'll be a lot of fun.
Hey, Luke, when will you have all of the information or a list of presenters or things like that? When would that be ready to go?
Yeah, all the work being put in right now on the front end is taking place. We're lining up our presenters, putting together our master schedule. I would say if you could give us till the beginning or mid-October to beginning of November, we'll have that out for everyone.
Okay. I'd love to promote that if you just send me all the info.
I certainly will, Mike. I really appreciate your help on that.
Thanks.
And hey, guys, anyone on this call, we are, of course, interested. If you want to present on something, if you have an idea for vendors or sponsors or anything like that, please contact me and we'll try and get you in or get your idea in. Thank you.
Thanks, Luke. 2 quick follow-ups on that. Gordon Corsetti is kind of our boss when it comes to the officials. He did all the training and certification for me as an observer and now as a trainer. He's out of Atlanta. Fantastic speaker, not just from the officials' perspective, but also on the pulse of what's going on with U.S. Lacrosse. So if you can go out and see Gordon, great speaker. 2, Luke, I call dibs on your couch for that weekend. If I come out there, I'm a vodka drinker, not beer, and I'd like the couch. One other thing that is not on here as not an official U.S. Lacrosse Michigan event, but Jamal chimed in that Michigan, as in the University of Michigan, they are now playing or practicing on their new stadium field. We have reached out to the University of Michigan about hosting Hall of Fame plaques, doing something. I think Coach Jolly is leading the charge with trying to communicate with the staff in Ann Arbor. for what that facility might be able to do to support U.S. Lacrosse Michigan. And then Coach Colin from Detroit Mercy is hosting, and I know he's on the call. I saw him muted. I don't know if he's still here. But Coach Colin, the first week in March, is hosting oh, you're there, Coach. He is hosting the Midwest Lacrosse, what do we call it? Midwest Lacrosse Championship? Invitational. Okay. Midwest Lacrosse Invitational. So Wisner Stadium in Pontiac, anyone that ever went and saw Brother Rice play CC and Boys Bowl there, they are hosting 2 games on Friday and 2 games on Sunday for Ohio State, Bellarmine, Marquette, and UDM. We being I'm part of Colin's staff on this, we have the facility for the entire weekend. So there will be walkthrough practices Friday morning, games Friday night. Saturday will be walkthrough practices, and then games on Sunday. We are right now in conversation with some local vendors, some local retailers, some local food trucks, some local youth teams. We are hoping if the weather cooperates that we can have a youth presence there, maybe some youth games on Saturday, maybe a Q&A with coaches, maybe an opportunity for local high school coaches to go watch those walkthroughs and then have a coaching session afterwards. I can't speak as a entrepreneur that's part of this event and a U.S. Lacrosse board member. I can't really jump in and automatically say this is what's for sure going to happen or what isn't going to happen. But we're definitely going to try to make it a festival experience and get as many people as we can out there at super discounted tickets and make it really kind of an exciting event for lacrosse in Michigan. So, yeah, the Concordia event, I don't know. Something that I can put at Okemos High School and make Van Antwerp post it, maybe. Or maybe Coach Colin and I can kind of figure out something for both of them, his tournament as well as, some sort of festival events there. I don't know, but yeah, I definitely have some things to talk about with the events committee once we get them out there. Anyone else? Going once, going twice. Well, anyone that can see me on chat saw my 2-year-old running here. It's way past her bedtime, and Mom is not home, so I am being a derelict dad. We did record this entire presentation and call. I will upload it to YouTube, and it will be available for anyone that couldn't join us. I'd like to thank everybody that hopped on the call. I'd like to thank everybody that contributed to the dialogue, and everyone for everything they do for lacrosse in Michigan. I will put this presentation on the website as a PDF, and if there's anything I can do for any of you, communication, whatever, again, it's just board@uslacrosse.org. You can find us through michiganlacrosse.org. That's my cell phone. That's Chip's cell phone. And then my email, just chris@druinsolutions.com. I think it's hyperlinked off the website. But if not, send me a text and we can communicate there. Question from Luke Grisman Colin. What is the name and date and location of your tournament again? It is the first weekend in March. It is at Wisner Stadium in Pontiac, and it is the Midwest Lacrosse Invitational. All right, guys. Thank you again, everyone, for attending. Have a great night, and talk to you soon.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Chris.
Chris? Yes.